Sci-fi and horror genre in the movies goes back to the earliest days of cinema history. From the German expressionist classic, Frankenstein, 1931, in early years of narrative cinema to the sci-fi classic, Metropolis, 1927, made in the same line of German expressionist movement. Now when we get this mesh genre of these two, we can only imagine what can be possible. Science fiction horror has been loved by fans across the world. It has been made in different parts of the world like Hollywood, Italy, and Japan. Inspired by the literary traditions, visual arts, comic books, graphic novels, manga, and of course, the scientific imaginary, sci-fi horror is here to terrify us. Here are 15 terrifying sci-fi horror movies that will haunt your dreams. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Alien, 1979. Alien, made in 1979, directed by the then unpopular beginner film director Ridley Scott, and written by young Dan O'Bannon. Alien is a story about a space mission gone wrong. The story is about the 7-member crew in a spaceship called Nostromo. While flying to Earth, they receive a transmission signal in a computer machine named Mother from a nearby moon. Following the orders of the company from where they have been sent, they went to investigate the matter. What comes next is the tragedy for the crew and terrifying for us viewers. In the moon, one of the characters, Kane, finds a room full of big eggs. After he touches one, a creature comes out and attacks Kane. Shocked by this incident, the other crew members run to the spaceship, Nostromo, taking the unconscious Kane. In the spaceship while Kane recovers, suddenly an alien bursts out from his chest, killing him, and went to hid. Terrified by this whole scenario, the crew members try to kill the now fully developed alien, but they fail. Members die while trying to chase and kill the creature. Their next plan becomes to destruct the spaceship Nostromo, abduct themselves, and fly themselves back to the Earth by a space shuttle. This plan also gets thwarted. Everyone gets killed, leaving only one crew member, Ripley, and the spaceship cat, Jones. In their dramatic end, both of them get themselves out of danger, logging one last entry, and fly back to Earth. Alien is made in the aftermath of the new Hollywood movement, within the new blockbusters, genres, and filmmakers. As noted by critics and reviewers, it pushed the limits of storytelling and genre, adapted the themes of the anxieties and fears of the people. Stanley Kubrick in his film 2000, A Space Odyssey, has a direct influence in it, excavating the anxieties of the modern scientific world. In addition to this, inspired by the legendary Frankensteinian tale, it communicates what could get wrong. Alien has become hugely popular and has achieved a cult classic. It now has its own franchise, also graced by some significant directors like James Cameron and David Miller. Event Horizon, 1997. Event Horizon, made in 1997, is directed by Paul W.S. Anderson, another cult classic of the sci-fi horror genre. It tells the story of a crew and a spacecraft, named Event Horizon, which mysteriously disappeared during a voyage in space. In 2047, it reappears after 7 odd years. Seeing this activity, a team of crew was sent from a vessel, named Lewis and Clark, to rescue the spacecraft Event Horizons. But it is not as simple as it looks. When the rescue vessel board the spacecraft Event Horizon, they find signs of massacres. In the meantime, the spacecraft is activated, and it damages the rescue vessel, Lewis and Clark. Following this, they understand this spacecraft has been possessed by a demon, haunted by supernatural force from some unknown universe, and finds evidence where they see the people there in the spacecraft before it mysteriously disappears, fornicated themselves, chanting for salvation from hell. The crew members themselves start to hallucinate their own fears and anxieties. Dr. Weir, the chief architect behind the Event Horizon, who came in the rescue vessel, now possessed the demon and kills 2 members of the crew and activates the spacecraft for a drive to the unknown dimension. The 3 crew members who managed to survive, Captain Miller, Stark, and Cooper, tried to flee with rescue vessel, but Dr. Weir again attacked. In a close moment, Miller sacrificed to save the other 2 crew members. While the Event Horizon spacecraft went to the unknown dimension, the 2 members flee to the Earth in the half-survived rescue vessel, Lewis and Clark. Since its release, it has been loved by a majority, become a popular icon of science fiction horror, following the lines of 2000, Alien, and other sci-fi horror classics. It also drew from the other genres such as religious or folk horror. It also has the elements of time travel, folk horror, and dystopian future. It deals with a theme which is very important in the world of both science fiction and horror. That is the uncovering of the socio-political realities of our time. Here, it asks some important questions related to our beliefs in one universe and time travel. As noted by critics, it is a chilling nightmare of a film, putting style over substance, and haunts the viewer. The Thing, 1982. The Thing, directed by John Carpenter, is again a cult classic, which terrifies the viewer with panic-driven, paranoid plot, hysteric characters and situations, and ambitious spectacular effects. It's a story about the group of American researchers in a research station in Antarctica, where they find an extraterritorial life form which, like a zombie, takes the form of any organism which they attack. They imitate and assimilate the exact same form. This phenomenon has been named The Thing for the title. In terms of the narrative, a sled dog passenger and a pilot get in trouble, which was noticed by the Americans, and they went to investigate. Finds themselves in trouble with a disformed humanoid and the Thing. Then the panic and paranoia start to build around the researchers, who try to find a way to save themselves. While it is a masterpiece and cult piece of sci-fi fiction horror, some reviewers and critics have noted its complex and incomplete plot. Critics have maintained that it is a striking comment on the nature of scientific research industry, authority, and establishment, and also pointed out to its pessimism and nihilism as compared to other Hollywood movies of that time, which worked in the similar genres. Another thing to note here is the inclusion of the body horror genre, which already points to an added genre remixing of sci-fi horror, which will take place with films like The Fly, and Videodrome, etc. The Fly, 1986. The Fly is a story about a science invention gone wrong. A scientist and inventor, Seth Brundle, invents a set of telepods that can allow teleportation. In showing this to a science journalist, Ronnie Quaife, so that she can document and write the story of this great invention, which can change the future of human lives. Meanwhile, they also fall in love. Following that, during a crisis in their relationship, due to a misunderstanding by Seth, he transports himself to Ronnie to amuse her. This is the time when it goes wrong. While it did the trick for Seth, after some time he and Ronnie understand that something is wrong. There was some other kind of mutilation. As Seth is becoming a half-human, half-insect, Ronnie discovers she's pregnant. With this paranoia, she is terrified. What if the child is a monster? A giant maggot? She tries abortion with her colleague, Stathis, but somehow Seth abducts and tries to mutilate both of them and their baby to a large insect entity. But he fails in his plan, as Stathis rescues Ronnie, and finally Seth becomes a large insectoid fly. The insect begs to be killed at the end. Ronnie, in grief, shoots. The Fly, directed by the body horror genre specialist, David Cronenberg, and putting his foot in the genre of sci-fi horror. What comes out is a terrifying film, which deals with human complex emotions and desires. Critics have pointed out, The Fly takes up the themes of Alien, The Thing, and successfully creates a world of sci-fi body horror, which creeps out the viewer. The Invisible Man, 2020. The Invisible Man is a scary and chilling sci-fi horror set in the world of psychological thriller. It is creepy, haunting, and full of jump scares. This is a love story gone wrong. Cecilia and Adrian are a couple, but Cecilia is unhappy and trapped with him, and according to her, he's a rich sociopath. She tries to escape, and escapes successfully by the help of her sister to her childhood friend's house. There she starts to get signs of haunting thing. Meanwhile, after he escapes, Adrian dies by suicide. Cecilia feels day by day more unnatural forces and thinks these things are done by Adrian, who has faked his death. The truth is he has really faked his death, and owning to his rich and techie business background, he has a suit which he wears to go invisible. Adrian creeps Cecilia and also kills Cecilia's sister. In the end, when Cecilia finds out the truth, she kills Adrian by his invisible suit and pretends that Adrian killed himself. Adapted from a classic piece of literature by H.G. Wells, the director, Lee Whannell, has put his own ingredients into the mixture. A pure case of psychological sci-fi horror, it provides the case for what happens when people who should love each other grow to hate each other. The film has chilling beats in the story, always keeping the viewer in its state of anxiety. Under the Skin, 2013. Jonathan Blazer is a notorious filmmaker, known for the long production of his films, taking time and creating stories which delve deeper into the complexities of human life, emotions, and desires. Under the Skin is philosophical exploration of human life and experience, Much like Tarkovsky's Solaris, it uses both science fiction and horror to explore what it means to be a human. It is set in Europe. It's a story about a woman who lures men into her life, especially for intimacy. The men who get trapped during the action of intimacy hallucinates and goes into a void, a silence, an abyss. In the course of this, during one of the acts, she gets interrupted by a family lost and getting drowned in the sea. After that, something happens. She starts to explore herself under her skin and ends up getting to a man who turns out to be a molester, and he burns the woman. Critics have mentioned the philosophical themes in this inextricable film, like what it means to be a human having intimacy with another human. Even though it transgresses normal morality, it deals with themes of the spiritual side of the human life, the feminine experience and strangeness that encompasses daily human life.
Why don't you shoot?
Pandora, 2009. The return of a good interstellar sci-fi horror film, directed by Christian Alvord. It is a tale of a humanity at stake. When catastrophe comes to their door, it's an interplay of human survival with human-made catastrophe. The story is of one interstellar ark, Elysium, which carries some 60,000 people to colonize another Earth-like planet, Tanis, due to the shortage of human resources on Earth and its complete destruction of nature and resources by humans. They set out for this journey into the other world, which would take 123 years for them to reach the planet Tanis. What follows is a gruesome human story of things gone wrong. Two characters, Peyton and Bauer, are awake in the midst of the journey. From their supersleep, they find things getting wrong in the ship. During this period, they experience a space-related psychosis, distress, and hallucination. Based on this experience, the film has been also named. After that, they discover that it's the nuclear reactor of the film, which is causing problems, and they sought to correct it. But what they find is already lost people and mutants who become cannibalistic. While they try to find the reactor and stabilize it, they go through a series of challenges about the condition of humanity. At the end, they discover a harsh truth about the spaceship and try to reconcile the humanity. While the film was dubbed a finest return of interstellar horror film, we should also note that the film became a hit slowly. It retains a view of humanity negotiating many different realities, catastrophes, dystopias, and disorder in the face of nature and life. It again has the success in bringing out the fears and anxieties of the human. Cloverfield Lane, 2016. 10 Cloverfield Lane is the second film in the trilogy of the films of this name. It's directed by the debutante, Dan Trachtenberg. It is a chilling domestic horror with extraterritorial life forms in the outside creating havoc. It is the terrifying story about Michelle, who gets trapped to a sociopath man in his house bunker. Like all humans, she is utterly terrified by the incidents that happened to her. But somehow the man, Howard, gaslights her that he is a good man trying to save her from the deadly attack that's happened outside. Emmett, another person, is trapped inside the bunker, who also agrees with Howard regarding that. Eventually, Michelle understands. But in the course of action, Michelle again has doubts. After she got some evidence which is terrifying for her and Emmett, they try to escape, but Howard caught them and kills Emmett. Finally, somehow Michelle successfully runs from the bunker, but ends up in front of extraterrestrial aliens and their ships, which attack her. She manages to again fight and survive. The film is a chilling thriller, which puts the viewer right into the story. A survival horror thriller meshed with sci-fi elements. It creates one hell of an experience. As a critic wrote, it is a great piece of storytelling, though maintains the tension. While there are other complaints about its anticlimactic end, but the tension has been retained throughout the film. The Mist, 2007. Finally, a Stephen King adaptation, the legend of horror genre. While it is an exploration of science fiction horror monster film from the vision of common humanity, it also explores the abilities of humans in an extraordinary circumstance. Directed by Frank Darabont, it achieves an extraordinary narrative storytelling. The plot is about the members of a small town who, after a terrifying thunderstorm, try to survive in the midst of this circumstance. What follows is how the humans fight with the creature that eloped in their small town, how they manage to survive. It has the typical theme of King's novel, in the face of catastrophe, how a community survives. Also to be noted is how the director has changed certain things in the narrative and storytelling elements, which adds up to the cinematic experience. The visual image of the monster creature or Lovecraftian themes all have been significant in this film. Annihilation, 2018. Annihilation, directed by Alex Garland, based on a novel of the same name, is an exceptional film, which delves deeper into meanings of human life, nature, and emotions. The plot is about some scientists who also trained in military service, encountering a mysterious zone beside the lighthouse. It is evolving, transforming, and growing bigger and bigger. We have to mention the performances of the lead cast, especially Natalie Portman, in her role as a military scientist, who is the only survivor, creates a visceral experience that is also a sci-fi horror, which have extraordinary philosophical themes coming from the cinematic tradition of Stalker, Solaris, Under the Skin, etc. Pitch Black, 2000. Pitch Black, released in 2000, directed by David Twohy, is a popular sci-fi horror film which takes inspiration from typical sci-fi genre to create a case for the best horror film. Starred by the likes of Vin Diesel and Radha Mitchell, it is an exploration of the survival of humans in the face of danger. The plot is about a spaceship in the near future, which transports passengers to a prison in the spacecraft. Suddenly hit by a comet, it falls into a desert planet. What happens next is how the prisoners help to face the dangers in the deserted planet. While the film is a sleeper hit, it has a scathing commentary on the American political situation. Most critics and reviewers have pointed out the many faults of the film, but everyone agrees on the entertainment and horror part of the film. Even if it is a formulaic and derivative film, it is made with honest intentions of affecting the viewer. Predator, 1987. Predator, a terrifying, scary action horror sci-fi flick, directed by John McTiernan, also starring the great Arnold Schwarzenegger. In the influence of the explosion of the genre of science fiction horror in Hollywood, this film is a definitive pop icon of the genre. The plot is about an elite special army force led by the character Dutch, played by Schwarzenegger. They are on a rescue operation to save hostages who are kept in a guerrilla warfare zone in a rainforest in America. Little did the special forces know that it was also haunted and ruled by the extraterrestrial life forms of aliens and big creatures. They are technologically advanced and stalking the elite force. What follows is the clash between these two forces. Predator is now a successful franchise with also a crossover film, the cult classic Alien. It delves deeper into the theme of saving humanity from the strangers, a classic case of American ideology, the state versus other. While we have many action sequences, the film stands for its visual experience and emotional resonance. A Quiet Place, 2018. A Quiet Place is a film directed by John Krasinski, who also starred in this film. A blending of dystopian apocalyptic monster genre with the best of sci-fi horror genre. It is an interesting take on the survival film. The plot is about a world of post-dystopian apocalyptic life, where we see the world is occupied by extraterrestrial life form-like creatures, who are blind but have a severe sense of hearing. They attack if they can hear any noise. What follows is the story of a family of 4 who try to survive in these circumstances, also maintaining silence so that the creatures won't attack. A Quiet Place, with its intelligent rewriting of the genre, tropes, and narrative, is a very fresh take on the survival genre. Creating creatures who can attack on hearing or by the sound alleviates the viewers to different sensory realms, giving a fresh emotional experience. It uses the cinematic object of sound storytelling besides visual expression very well, in turn, embracing these aesthetic elements and narrative help for the affection of the spectators. While this was the first part, the second part, released in 2022, is equally good. Overall, this film takes the viewers into different sensorial experiences, creating tense and anxious sequences with silence and pure visual storytelling. In the Mouth of Madness, 1994. In our list, another John Carpenter film gets mentioned. This one, In the Mouth of Madness, 1994, is a film which blends reality and fiction, creating a sci-fi horror that is mind-blowing and scary at the same time. The plot is about an insurance manager and investigator who ends up being in a mental hospital charged with mental disorders and psychosis. The narrative is about the investigator, Trent, who tries to find a novelist who writes novels in the H.P. Lovecraftian way. What follows is the story of his exploration of subjectivity and identity. John Carpenter is known for his exploration of identity crisis, subjectivity disorder, madness, and psychosis. This film touches on all the core themes of his filmmaking philosophy, making it a treat to watch with madness and the psychosis. Scanners, 1981. Scanners, a Canadian film made by David Cronenberg in 1981, is an eccentric take on the sci-fi horror genre. This is Cronenberg's second mention here in the list. As mentioned before in the list, he is a master of the body horror genre and characteristically mixes other genre elements for his service of storytelling. In this film, the story is about a corporation who has the powers and abilities of telepathy and telekinesis, but they use that for their own purpose. Critics love this film for its brilliant concept and has noted the brilliance of the narrative. Cronenberg creates a film which makes us think about the limits and uses of power through the exploration of this terrifying sci-fi horror genre. Marvelous verdict. We have listed 15 of the freakiest and terrifying films which have the power to haunt your freaks. Sci-fi horror is a genre which has been embraced by some of the greatest cinematic storytellers in the movie history, structuring or restructuring the genre for this purpose of storytelling, making them icons of popular culture. These films help to uncover and explain the unconscious of the masses and affects us with fear, disgust, anxiety, and uncanny emotion. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.